Roll call.
Vice President Walls.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have no special presentation scheduled this evening, so we will move on to audience comments. Anyone wishing to address the Xenia City Council, please feel free to do so. Step to the podium, provide us your name and address. Limit your comments 4 to 5 minutes, please. Seeing no one come forward, we will move on to old business. First item is Resolution 2019-V, a second reading, expressing the City of Xenia's support for the Greene County Master Trail Planning effort, originally introduced by Vice President Wallace.
And I suppose now would be appropriate to move for its approval.
Thank you very much. Move for approval and a second, please.
Second.
Seconded by the mayor. Any discussion or question on this resolution, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item is Resolution 2019-W, also a second reading, authorizing the expenditure of $10,000 in Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund program income on the Simon Kenton Bridges of Hope Fire Suppression System project, originally introduced by Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move for passage, please.
Thank you. Need a second, please.
Second.
Seconded by the Vice President. Discussion or question on this motion, please. Councilman.
Yeah, I'd just like the public to know this, it says revolving loan fund, but this is actually a grant, for lack of a better term. So, and just for full disclosure, Councilman Urschel went through this at our last meeting. We are going to have a meeting at the end of this month with the CAP and the Bridges of Hope, hopefully to get the two of them together. So that way Bridges of Hope won't, hopefully, they'll have a better source of income if that comes to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion or question, please?
I just want to mention that I'll be abstaining from discussion or voting as I'm on the board of the Bridges of Hope.
Thank you. Anything else, please? Seeing nothing else, roll call, please.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Abstain?
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have no public hearings scheduled this evening, so we'll move on to new business. First item is Ordinance 2019-16, an emergency, amending Ordinance 2019-15 to provide appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the City of Xenia, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Finance Director.
Yes, so this was for the Ohio EPA. We need additional funds for expanded gas monitoring at the city's closed landfill.
Thank you. How about a motion to approve as an emergency, please?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice President as an emergency. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Smith. Discussion or question on this motion, please? And the only thing to add very, very minorly to this is for the citizens that are watching, listening, or will read about this later. This is an ongoing responsibility that the council has and that the city will have for many decades to come. And some of these expenses, depending on what the EPA finds or demands, can grow from even the best of our projections. So I know council and city staff are doing their best to minimize emergencies and additional expenditures, but in this particular case, our hands are tied by the Ohio EPA. Roll call, please.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is Resolution 2019-X, also an emergency, approving the preliminary consent legislation for the ODOT Bridge Inspection Program and declaring an emergency. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. Since its inception in 2014, the city's participated in the Ohio Department of Transportation's Municipal Bridge Inspection Program. The effort allows interested jurisdictions a partnership opportunity that eliminates the need for us to contract with private engineering firms to complete annual bridge inspections. The program saves the city several $1,000s per year in contractual services by coordinating these services through ODOT. City's engineering staff was recently notified by ODOT that the current 3-year agreement will expire at the end of the year. As such, staff recommends that legislation be adopted by council to allow us to continue our participation in the ODOT Bridge Inspection Program. And the duration of the new agreement would be for 3 years again through 2022. ODOT has requested that the preliminary legislation as presented in your agenda packets be adopted as quickly as possible by the legislative bodies of each participating jurisdiction. Consequently, staff requests that the attached resolution be adopted as an emergency basis this evening so that we can get it back to the state.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve as an emergency, please?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councilman Lauterbach, seconded by the Vice President. Any discussion or question on this motion, please?
Get it done.
Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace,
Aye.
Councilman Urschel,
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach,
Aye.
Councilman Smith,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is Resolution 2019-Y, seeking an introduction, authorizing the city manager to execute a use agreement with Gregory P. Burnett for the use of city property located adjacent to 30 South Detroit Street. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. As some background for this agenda item, there is a restaurant that plans to open at 30 South Detroit Street in a building currently owned by Greg and Pamela Burnett. The restaurant hopes to provide outdoor seating as part of their operation. Our land development code would allow for this through the utilization of public sidewalk if at least 5 feet of the public sidewalk width remains unimpeded. This can be achieved at this location. The restaurant proposes an 11-foot by 22-foot outdoor seating area adjacent to the south end of the building facade of 30 South Detroit Street. The seating area would occupy the public sidewalk adjacent to the building. Renderings of that are in your agenda packet. The restaurant will enclose the seating area with a 3-foot tall decorative aluminum fence. They may also add some canopy in the future. In order to move forward with the use of the sidewalk for the seating area, however, a separate use agreement with the city is required. This is because a use agreement would involve an interest in real property, and by our city charter, such a use requires authorization from city council via an ordinance or resolution. In order to allow the restaurant to move the project forward in a timely manner, staff respectfully recommends that council introduce a resolution to approve the proposed use agreement. Staff feels a restaurant downtown as well as this outdoor seating use would be great additions to our city core, so we recommend introduction of the resolution this evening.
Thank you. May I have an introduction?
So introduced.
Introduced by the mayor. Thank you very much. Next item is an administrative motion authorizing the city manager to execute an option agreement for the sale of a perpetual communication easement with American Towers LLC. Mr. City Manager.
Again, a little background. In 1999, the city entered into an agreement with AT&T Wireless, which is now American Tower LLC, for lease of land at 966 Toller Road, which is our public service center, for a communications tower. A 3,600 square foot easement was granted as part of the agreement, and a monthly rent and revenue share agreement were created at that time. American Tower owns the tower and manages the utilities using the tower. Through the city's easement agreement, the city gets rent for the land and receives a portion of the revenue derived from the entities using the tower. Over the years, the city's rent has ranged from between about $12,000 to $20,000 annually. The revenue shares range between $12,000 and $23,000 annually based on the use of the tower at a given time. The city's been notified by American Tower that through mergers and installation of a nearby tower, Cricket and AT&T will no longer be using the tower as of 2020, leaving only Cincinnati Bell on the tower. This will significantly reduce the revenue that the easement provides to the city. Staff has evaluated the option of selling the perpetual easement for a lump sum payment as prescribed in the agreement, and after discussions with council previously, we feel at this time that the best approach moving forward would be to execute that perpetual easement. Current offer from American Tower is $267,035 for the sale of the easement. Given the industry uncertainty and the expected declines in revenue share in the coming months, we recommend approval of the motion to authorize the execution of the agreement for the sale of the perpetual easement.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice President. Second, please.
Second.
Second by Councilman Smith. Discussion or question on the motion, please?
So, so we've had a number of discussions amongst ourselves and with the city manager and the city finance director as well on this. And once again, I think our perception is that there would probably be declining revenue coming from this, and that this is an optimal time for us to go ahead and make that sale of that land and the resource. So I'm definitely in favor of us doing that.
Thank you. Anything else, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is an administrative motion authorizing the city manager to execute work order number 2019-08 with Wood Environment and Infrastructure Solutions and Company for the expansion of landfill post-closure gas emission monitoring in 2019 under the existing master services agreement. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. This, of course, corresponds with the appropriation ordinance provided earlier. City has a longstanding relationship with Wood Environmental and Infrastructure Solutions Council. Some of you more tenured members may remember them as AMEC Foster Wheeler. And they worked with us to complete all the necessary landfill post-closure gas and groundwater monitoring obligations we have for compliance with both federal and state laws. The landfill monitoring is a very complex effort, made worse by some of the unique conditions at our particular landfill site. Wood Environment and Infrastructure Solutions has performed monitoring at the closed landfill on behalf of the city since 1996. As a result of this, they have gained a very unique body of knowledge about the landfill and the unique conditions at the site. Recent meetings with officials from the Ohio EPA have resulted in the necessity to expand the current gas monitoring systems to add 5 passive vent wells to encapsulate the methane emissions originating from the existing gas probe near the Xenia Hardfill Administrative Office. Consequently, it'll be necessary to expand the planned services for 2019 to be provided under the current master services agreement with Wood Environment. Wood Environment Infrastructure again, has been providing the service for an extended period of time. We feel confident they can continue in this expanded capacity. So staff has recommended the council authorize the execution of the work order number 8 for 2019 with Wood at a total amount of $50,360.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion, please, to authorize the city manager to execute the work order?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Lauterbach. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Smith. Discussion or question on this motion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. President, before we pay the bills, can we go back to item D for just a second? That $267,000 that we're expecting, do we have a home for that already?
Yeah, it'll go into our general capital fund. And I know with our budget and finance subcommittee, we'd had some conversation. Given the amount of spending we've had over the last couple of years in streets, staff feels that we ought to bank that money in that account to help keep a sustainable balance in that general capital fund account.
Okay, so we can't use it for streets now. We're gonna put it.
You could, staff would advise not doing so now. Again, we want to keep a reasonable balance in that fund because you never know, what situation might arise where we would need to have some of those funds on hand. Right now, we're projected with the Second Street project and the additional projects we're doing this year. After doing pretty expensive projects in streets the last couple of years, we've drained quite a bit of that balance in the general capital fund. So we're falling a little bit below. Yeah, we're falling a little below what our policies would indicate we would prefer to be at.
Okay. Just a thought.
Adding to that, just a logistical complication, if I might. I think we're at the closer to the end of the paving season, where we would have already executed our contracts for this year, so it will be wise to maintain the monies, see where we're at next year.
Yeah, you probably couldn't get a contractor this year yet anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So, Brent, one other item though that we had talked about, and maybe you can have Chris come back and talk to us in 2 weeks is understand we spend a lot of money on major infrastructure repair of the streets, but, you know, the preventive maintenance of a crack ceiling is probably just as critical. And could he come back and just share with us either what the plans are for any crack ceiling for this fall? And if not, I think we as a council need to have some discussions about that, because, once again, we could be losing a lot of lane miles through this year if we don't do some preventive sealing, so.
Yeah, we could certainly plan to have some discussion in study session environment. Of course, we're right now at the front end of the 5-year CIP preparation. The conversation will be heating up with departments on those capital purchases, and really that conversation needs to extend back very soon to council as we project how you want to use proceeds in terms of general strategy for streets moving into next year.
Right.
And then, of course, that extends also to a conversation about what's the longer-term strategy to figure out how we fund all of the needs that we have.
Sure, but just in terms of what the plans are for
the immediate
this-
future, yeah.
For this, or for this calendar year,
Yep.
for the preventive work. And I understand that, you know, what one end of the bookend or the playing field may be that we've spent our dollars on the major improvements, but before we depart this year, I think at least we can have a discussion about how much of the preventative
Yep.
maintenance we've done, and if not, is there any way for us to be able to still accomplish some of that?
And we can also provide some context, what we've done in the last couple of years to give you some
Sure.
points of preference.
Please.
Yep, sure.
Any other discussion or question, please?
One, but related, not exactly on that, is when will we expect to see the first revenue from the gas tax?
We would have started receiving them after the new state fiscal budget, so after July 1st. Again, we'll see a portion of those revenues coming in this year. We won't really have that additional revenue to really be able to play with in terms of application for streets until next year's street season. But
Could
when
be
we-
for the same reason, that
Correct.
season's over.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay. Our final item this evening is an administrative motion approving the schedule of bills in the amount of $252,666.29. Mr. Finance Director.
I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Motion, please, to pay our bills this evening.
So moved.
I say nobody wants to pay bills this evening? Second, please.
Second.
Second by Councilman Latterback. Any discussion or question of the bills, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Vice President Wallace,
Aye.
Councilman Urschel,
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach,
Aye.
Councilman Smith,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel,
Aye.
motion carried.
Thank you. This time we have opportunity for appointed official reports and council comments. Mr. City Manager.
I think we have two items this evening. The first relates to handouts that I provided to council just before we started tonight. I apologize for the lateness of this, but it's getting to us very late. We were notified last Friday evening, and over the last couple of days have worked to put calculations together related to the mutual aid that the city of Xenia provided the city of Beaver Creek. We learned Friday that if the city wants to pursue reimbursement for those expenses, we would have to essentially pass legislation this evening, a simple administrative motion authorizing a mutual aid agreement, because those agreements have to be in place prior to the 21st of this month, which of course falls before our next council meeting. Beaver Creek has requested that mutual aid assisting communities consider allowing those expenses to be a donation to help them offset the 25% match that's required by FEMA. As of my most recent conversation with the Beaver Creek city manager, they're actually looking at the city of Beaver Creek borrowing some money, potentially from the county, to help meet some of that need, because they're frankly pretty cash poor as a result of their tornado response. So there are two issues that council has to reconcile. One's not necessary depending on the first, but do you want to go ahead and allow that donation of mutual aid cost to be a donation? Provided a spreadsheet for you tonight. We're looking at a little less than $12,000, so it's not a significant sum of money as these things often go. I mean, $12,000 is $12,000. I don't want to belittle it, but it's not in the context of our budget, not a significant sum of money. If the answer is no, you want to seek reimbursement, then we would recommend that council entertain a motion this evening to authorize execution of that mutual aid agreement, and we would go ahead and submit that mutual aid agreement for signature, and then proceed with reimbursement. But again, if you're interested, we do need to get a decision this evening.
Is there a motion, please?
Mr. President, I think that I I'm inclined to say that we want to be a good neighbor and make the services that we've already rendered and the help that we've already provided be a donation. And I agree with you that 12,000 is 12,000, but on the other hand, we never know when this time it's them. The next time it could be us.
Right.
And I think we ought to just be a good neighbor and say, you're welcome.
It's worth adding that my cohort,
And
the
if-
appointed authorities are in concurrence that we ought to just go ahead and offer it as a donation.
And if I need to make it so, I'll make a motion that we make it a
You
donation.
actually only need a motion if you want to authorize the city manager to approve the mutual aid agreement to get that reimbursement.
No.
Thank you.
Otherwise, per
Is
the
there any
information we
motion
got from
to-
Beaver Creek, if we do not do the mutual aid, then it automatically will,
Okay.
FEMA will automatically count that as a donation towards their local map.
So
Donation.
thank you. Is there any motion to seek reimbursement? Seeing none?
Can we discuss it without a motion? I just, my question, do you staff feel that this would be reciprocated the same way?
I do.
Beaver Creek
Yeah,
towards
I think-
us?
I think we-
Because I would think they would do the same
Yeah.
thing. So
And,
to
and
me-
again, we can't speak to what was
Right.
done in 2000, but I think it's a pretty good bet that we receive mutual aid in county. Yeah.
Right, right, because I think Beaver Creek, of course, but our other neighboring communities like Trotwood they're gonna really be in the pickle for several years with their property tax.
And again,
Yeah.
I don't want this comment to be disparaging in any way, it's not intended to be, but, I think the thought is Beaver Creek is a pretty wealthy community, but in terms of their municipal services, they do have a very marginal budget right now, and as a result of what they've had to expend to deal with the cleanup, that, they're hurting a little bit, and we certainly can empathize with that. But again, I think this comes back to do for your neighbor as you would expect for you.
I agree.
Seeing no motion, your next item, Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, I just wanted to give council a heads up. I will be requesting a special session. This will be news to the council president, but we have an extra week after our second meeting this month because this first meeting's falling so early. So we'll be requesting a special session for updates on several topics. Need to get some direction from council on Town Square. We also have several other projects we need to get some feedback and or give an update on. So just a heads up, we'll be asking for some extra time later this month. Several items we need to give you an update on. That's all I
you.
have this evening.
Any questions for our city manager, please?
I have two of them. Can we send you an email, like what our availability would be? for
Sure,
that?
yeah, and
Okay.
maybe I would say copy the city clerk and myself.
Okay,
So
Michelle.
we can kind of,
Okay, and then the next question, I'm sorry to ask this in public, a lot of people are probably wondering, but the Second Street, second layer.
Yeah.
When is that happening? Do we have a schedule for that?
yeah, we kind of thought maybe we would see it done in July, but they have until early October to complete per the contract. So,
I just
I
didn't
don't have a
know.
specific date, but yeah, there definitely will be that
With
second course that'll go down.
School starts August 19th, it would be kind of nice if it was done before.
Yeah, I don't think we
that.
have any idea right now, but our engineer's saying probably
Yeah.
not going to happen before
Not gonna
then.
happen. Okay, all right, no problem.
And, that actually raises a good point. So,
Shaking your head.
so we'll contact the superintendent's office, let them know that once we find out when that's gonna occur, we'll give them a heads up so they can maybe plan around that morning. That will
Alright.
obviously impact the junior high very significantly.
Right, thank you.
It's a good heads up.
Anything else for our city manager, please? Mr. Finance Director,
I have nothing this evening.
anything for our Finance Director, please? Madam Law Director?
Just wanted, as I was not here at your last meeting, I was with the Ohio Municipal Attorneys Association. They asked me to be a presenter this year. I did presentations on annexation, a presentation on parking violations and how you make those civil, much as Xenia did. And I also did a presentation on illicit massage parlors and how you keep them out of your city, which ironically was the most popular of the three.
It's a real hands-on presentation.
The slides, everybody
I'm
seems to
gonna
like
seek
the
a motion to
slides.
adjourn here momentarily.
Quickly,
I
but
think we're out of
just-
control.
Just so council's aware, I was elected vice president of the
Wow.
association. I will start in January.
Mary.
And I want to share a story with you. This was not someone that was associated with the conference, but we all wear badges. And I had a lady at the hotel stop me when she saw my name tag said City of Xenia. She said, Xenia, oh my goodness, I just love that town. I've only ever been there once. They were in Columbus visiting family. Apparently her husband was in the Air Force. And they had ridden their motorcycle over here. She said this was like 7 or 8 years ago, and they had stopped at Nick's. And there was a group of 4 of them, and they were sitting out on the patio, and she said, we got up to leave, and someone had paid our bill. She said, and we never, and I said, well, we're called the City of Hospitality for a reason. So just to be stopped by a complete stranger like that with a story like that about our city, I just wanted to share that with you, because I was just grinning ear to ear. I thought that was wonderful.
Great, thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you.
Anything for our law director this evening, please?
Just congratulations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Well deserved, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we will move to council comments. First, Madam Mayor.
I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lauterbach?
Thank you. Just one item. My thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the victims in El Paso and Dayton. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Smith?
Thank you very much. Just this week, we had a charter review committee meeting, and I just want to impress on everyone how efficient our law director is in running that meeting and explaining that, the terminology in our charter and giving examples to, the mayor and myself sit on that, and 3 citizens, and the comments that they said too were, thank you for the examples and the suggestions. So, and I thought we got a lot accomplished in that first meeting. So I feel really positive that we're gonna come back with some very, a lot of improvements in the wording, bring it a little more up to date. And as you mentioned, this council as a whole has always talked about being transparent to our constituents. And that's what we're doing. We're making the charter even more transparent. We're making our council meetings more transparent, giving you more opportunity to come up and give us feedback. Because, you know, even though we're sitting up here, we represent the community and our citizens, and we all feel an obligation to do that. So I want to thank you for that, and then also echo what Councilman Lauterbach said, the tragedy that happened Saturday night. It's sad. It's an evil that we have, and it's just, as Americans, we need to wake up. We need to be parents. We need to teach our kids responsibility, and we need to seek help when someone has mental illnesses. We need to be able to put a stop to the violence. And so again, it's not a time to be political. It's a time to be in prayer, if you ask me. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Urschel?
So I had an opportunity over the last month to go door to door asking folks to sign a petition so I could have my name on the ballot this fall. And as I did that, I asked folks just, what's your perception of how we're doing in the city? And if there's some things you'd like us to be working on, what would be those things? And there were 2 themes that really came through as I was talking to folks. One is, obviously, folks were just very interested. They're very thankful about the work being done on 2nd Street, but they were very curious as to what the plans were, and everybody had their own favorite road to get repaved. So we talked through those. I think Colorado Boulevard came up a lot. Second item, though, is just perception that in our city, that illicit drug use and the availability of illicit drugs is fairly widespread. And a lot of concern from folks as to, is there anything we can do to address this? And so, Mr. Chairman, I guess I'd like to make a request, if at some council meeting or some session, whatever the right forum would be, if we could get the police chief come and speak to us as a council and give his perception in terms of the things that our police force are doing right now. And then we also have a law director too, maybe speak, or maybe have someone from the municipal court come and speak from there, because obviously this is being addressed both within the court system, you know, from the police force, obviously the court system is independent of us, but the police force is under our jurisdiction. And I'd just like to see us start having some conversations on that. I know we've had a lot of conversations on the roads and bringing businesses into the area and other types of things, but I think we need to start some discussion about the drug use and the availability of illicit drugs in our community. And I'd just like to get a sense from, maybe both from the municipal court as well as from our police force as to whether they believe that they have the proper resources, or there's other things that we should be doing as a city council to be addressing that.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, do you expect a work session is appropriate for this, or a presentation?
I think probably a work session where we
Thank
can
you.
do a presentation, have some special time dedicated for
Good.
that. I think it's a very reasonable request, and
Sure.
it's obviously a significant issue in our community, as with the communities around us.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Councilman Dean,
Nothing to add.
Mr. Vice President.
I share, I'm glad Councilman Lauterbach brought it up, I share the concerns and prayers for the folk in El Paso, as well as our neighbors, closest neighbors, Dayton. And I totally agree with Councilman Smith, we need to be in prayer for both those communities. And I don't want to get into the reasons and the issues that precipitated it. I don't think it's all mental health, however, I will say that much. But we just need to be in constant prayer for our leadership from the White House down, and certainly our community.
Well, and Mr. President, just so you are aware, and to give a shout out to the victim advocates in our division, they were called and the girls have gone down, have volunteered their time. The goal was to assign an advocate to every person that was there and that was traumatized. And they've been doing that after work on their own hours, pretty much every night this week.
Right.
That's
Channel 7
Thank
also
you.
did an awesome job. Just as I was getting ready to walk out the door, I saw that an awesome job of notifying the public when the funeral services for the victims are going to be. There's a couple in Springfield, 2 people who died there on Saturday, and it's just a time that we need to be in prayer, and that makes me think even more that we should have done what we did to help Beaver Creek. This time it was them, next time it could be us. So.
Right. And I believe the police division provided mutual aid as well, is that
Yeah,
correct?
we provided basically backfill, so a couple of our officers were assigned to handle priority calls with Beaver Creek State, or excuse me, in City of Dayton, because they had flooded that area with all of their available resources. So that's what we do in this region. This region is great at providing support for each other in the midst of crisis.
Excellent.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you. I would just add my own personal condolences to all who were affected by tragedies both in El Paso as well as the Dayton area. And the one thing that I would add, in addition to agreeing with all my colleagues about being in prayer about this being in a receptive mode to understanding what kinds of things could be done, should be done, that we might be able to take action on. But I would offer you just a practical aspect as well. It's my understanding, and this may be completely correct or partially correct at this point in time, the reason that there was such a rapid response was that a couple of, I believe, employees of one of the local establishments observed something irregular about this gentleman as he was proceeding to where he was going to do his deeds, and made report of that to the police. It goes back to something that I work at the Air Force Base, I see every day from our Office of Special Investigations. If you see something, say something. Please be aware of your surroundings. As many have noted, this was Dayton. Dayton's a big city. There's no reason that it couldn't be tomorrow Beaver Creek, Xenia, Columbus, anywhere in particular in the state of Ohio or the continental United States. So please just be aware of your surroundings. If you see anything that looks irregular, please do not hesitate to pick out your phone and call 911 and let the authorities know. You never know when that particular call you make, like the call made in Dayton, probably meant the difference for life and death for any number of people.
Exactly.
Mr. City Manager, I think we had talked about a requirement for an executive session.
I think we can wait.
We can wait, thank you.
Just
Councilman.
one quick item, and I apologize. On a lighter note, Councilman Urschel brought back a memory when I first ran for council. I was all cocky. I went up to the first door, knocked on, I said, "My name's Dale Lauterbach, running for city council." The guy said, "I don't like politicians and preachers," and slammed the door. So, it brought me back to reality. So it brought me back to reality, and I just proceeded to go to the next door.
Politicians or preachers. He really has some hate for me.
That's right, that's right.
On that note, I don't know how we could possibly have greater levity. Is there a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Lauterbach and the Vice President respectively. Roll call, please.
Vice President Walls.
Aye.
Councilman Urschel.
Aye.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
President Engel.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
That's a record.
Close.
Wow, I get to see my wife tonight.
Well, we've got a couple